Hello, and welcome to our presentation of the Capstone project from Portland State University. My name is Erik, and I had the pleasure of leading a team through the spring and summer Capstone session. We are Team Common Goods and are very excited to show you what we've been working on for the last 5 months. Our team is composed of talented members of the computer science department and included Allie Hanson, Sean Sisson, Roland Ballinger, Simon Barton, Michael Jenkins, and myself. Our team has built a platform as a mobile application to facilitate mutual aid among community members. During difficult times such as the current COVID pandemic, many people, especially those in less privileged communities, may find themselves at a loss when in need of essential goods and services. Crucially, our application is neither a marketplace nor a social media platform. Common Goods aims to facilitate this free exchange of goods and services between those who need it the most by providing a way to make both requests and offers. So that's what it's all about on paper. Now let's dive into a quick tour of the application and see how it actually works. Here, I have the app running on both an Android emulator on the left and an iPhone simulator on the right. This is what you'll see when you start up the app. From here, it is easy to either log into an existing account or to create a new one. I'll log into some existing accounts. Upon logging in or registering, you will initially be presented with the list of current postings in your communities. From here, you can scroll the list or tap on an item to view details. On the details screen, you can view additional information about the item. You can also tap on the heart to add it to your saved items, or flag it if you believe it is inappropriate. If you are interested in the item, you can tap on the Reach Out button. After tapping on the button, an email will be sent from your email address to the email address of the user who created the posting, so make sure that it is correct. One of the most important features of the application is the ability to create a posting. As such, it is front and center on the home screen. Tapping the plus icon takes you to the posting creation screen. From here, you can add an image, add a title, an item description, and select whether or not it is a request, an offer, a good, or a service. You can set the quantity if applicable and select which community it belongs to. This will default to your home community. Clicking the confirm button will create the posting. Now, if I refresh the other screen, you'll see that this newly created posting appears. If you wish to change your email address or other details of your profile, you can do so from the profile screen. This can be reached by selecting the Profile tab at the bottom right of the home screen. From there, tapping on the Edit button will take you to the Edit screen, which will allow you to edit your details. Crucially, your home profile can be changed from one of your joined communities. When first registering, you will only belong to a single community. To join additional communities, tap on the menu icon at the top left and head over to the Community screen. This screen will display all of your currently joined communities. If you wish to join another one, tap on the Add icon at the top right and select which communities you wish to join. Leaving a community is as simple as deselecting it. Now, if I join a few extra communities and head back to the home screen, I will see all of the postings from my newly joined communities. Going back to the menu, you're able to view your own postings as well as the list of your saved postings. If you happen to not be nearby one of your communities, you can search by postings around you. To do so, head to the Settings menu and toggle the switch. This will switch the app from showing you postings in your community to showing you postings from a radius around you. This defaults to 10 miles, but can be adjusted from 1 to 50. Well, those are the core features. There are additional ones such as moderator tools for handling flagged postings, but they don't apply to regular users of the application. We're hoping that our focus on the core feature set will streamline the usage of the application and make it a pleasant, intuitive experience.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I'll be walking you through the details of the Common Goods platform. Common Goods is an app created to facilitate mutual aid within communities. That is, helping your neighbors without expecting anything in return. Our society has gotten more and more granular over the years, meaning that when times are tough, many people don't have a significant support network in place. And when disaster strikes, people may be inclined to become even more isolated. We aim to prevent this with an intuitive platform on which a user can request items they need or offer items or services to others in their community. Mutual aid can be practiced by anyone, no matter their age or class, though it does seem to be most common in young adults and underserved minorities, as they're less likely to have extra resources set aside. Nevertheless, we designed Common Goods to be as intuitive as possible. The UI is streamlined to ensure it's usable whether the user is proficient with technology or not, and it runs on both Android and iOS to reach as many users as possible. I'll now be going over the most important features of Common Goods. These are posting creation, communities, location integration, user profiles, and the way users are contacted via email. In essence, postings are Common Goods. It's through these that the users can both request and offer items or services. On our posting creation screen, the ability to upload a photo is first and foremost. There are clearly labeled fields for the name and description of the item, and the user has the ability to specify what type of posting they're creating and in which neighborhood it's located. The approximate location is also shown on a map on the posting detail screen. Communities allow Common Goods to fulfill our goal. By connecting our users with other users nearby, they're able to create their own networks of mutual aid. They'll be interacting with their neighbors, not a stranger on the other side of town. Each posting is associated with a community, and others are able to join multiple communities if they so choose, as some may live in one area of town but spend significant time in another. Organizing posts by this method increases the likelihood that a post will be in walking distance, crucial for those who may lack reliable transportation. Precise location is another method through which users can sort posts. Each post contains its approximate location, represented by the darkened circle that's centered on coordinates which have been slightly altered to protect user privacy. Users are able to view any post within a specified radius from their given location, potentially giving them a greater number of visible posts. Through profiles, a user is able to keep track of their own posts and to reach out to their fellow community members for help. Users are also able to bookmark posts they're interested in to view later. As user privacy is crucial to us, we never display a user's contact information on the app itself. Instead, when a user is interested in a post and decides to reach out, Common Goods sends an email to the creator of the post, informing them that someone's interested. The interested party's email is preset in the reply field, so the post creator can easily contact them while remaining in complete control over whether their information is shared or not. As mentioned previously, users are able to save posts they're interested in to view later. Additionally, users can flag suspicious or inappropriate posts, which an approved moderator, who has the ability to view all flagged posts, can either delete or unflag them. Common Goods has the potential for further improvement as well. User experience would be improved if location services and communities were further connected, allowing us to automatically place an item into a community based on its location. Gamification, through badges or trophies, would encourage users to stay active and aid user retention, while allowing users to not only post and offer goods and services, but also organize community events, would enable and encourage people to become further involved in their communities.
Hello, I'm Roland. Allow me to give you a more detailed description of the architecture of our project. The major components of our application are the front end, the back end, and the database. Our front end is implemented in JavaScript using the React Native framework. The React Native framework allows us to use one codebase across both major smartphone platforms. The front end sends requests and data to URLs that allow fine-grained access to features of the back end. The back end consists of a Django server application running on a Google App Engine instance. The Django REST framework parses incoming requests and any associated data and routes them to the relevant API path. Depending on the type of request, Django can take various actions, but mostly it makes database queries. Simple Django objects and templates exist for simplifying database operations. The database is a PostgreSQL relational database with PostGIS extensions, which enable operations on geographical data. Django can operate on query results as Python objects, making it simple to create, update, and otherwise manipulate entries in the database. Because the Django framework provides such a high-level abstraction of database operations, complex queries can be made relatively easily. These built-in features make complex, critical applications such as user authentication and data privacy much simpler to implement. Once the data has been retrieved from the database and operated on by Django, the REST framework serializes the data for transport and sends it back to the front end. React Native parses this data and uses it to fill in elements for each screen activity. In this way, the front end can be used to access and operate on all the data stored on the back end, and a broad range of functionality can be condensed into a user experience that is responsive, simple, and consistent.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I'll be leading you through our team's development process. We began the Capstone project by identifying some of the potential projects we wanted to be working on, which gave us insight into what preferences, strengths, and weaknesses we had with respect to the available projects. Due to the circumstances of the term, we had a unique opportunity to propose our own project that related to the pandemic. Once we were assigned our project, we began planning out how we would go about the development of our app. The initial development methodology we chose was Scrumban, taking Kanban's board system and combining it with sprints from the Scrum. We decided on this approach because we thought traditional Scrum would not work as well given the difficulties and constraints of remote development. So we chose to combine aspects from both that we thought would work best. In our first couple sprints, we set out to accomplish two main goals: to set up a basic front-end and back-end skeleton, and to connect these using a REST API. We were able to achieve these goals fairly early on into the development process, which made a great platform for further developing the features of the app. After a couple weeks of sprints, we had achieved a solid rhythm. However, we made a change that would increase the performance and productivity of the team as a whole. In addition to our sprint planning session and retrospective, we began having bi-weekly coding sessions for both front-end and back-end teams. This allowed us to collaborate even more as a team, which not only fixed bugs faster, but allowed other developers to learn quickly, iterate quickly, and share knowledge. Just before the end of spring term, our app was in really good shape. Data was communicating from the front end and back end and vice versa. This allowed us to spend the majority of the summer term implementing features, designing new assets, and fixing any bugs we ran across. We've spent the last few weeks finalizing our feature set and focusing on polish, testing, and cleanup. Lately, we've been getting the project ready for deployment and have pushed builds for iOS and Android. Over the course of the Capstone, we went from a group of strangers to a group of friends and a highly capable team.
Hi there, I'm Allie, and I will be discussing the high-level responsibilities and contributions of each team member, as well as the unexpected events we faced together. So the work was divvied up between team members according to our specific development focus area. Erik was the team lead, Simon took on DevOps, Michael and I tackled front-end development, and Roland and Sean focused on back-end development. While each of us primarily contributed under these given areas, team members often contributed to different components and pieces of the development process when it was applicable, necessary, or just something they were interested in working on. There was continual communication between the six of us, which enabled us to really dive into our area while still being cognizant of the other moving parts of the project. So next, I'm going to describe how each of us contributed a little bit more specifically. In addition to project management and coordination, Erik also contributed to front-end development along with Michael and myself. The three of us primarily worked on the React Native app, including the styling, front-end functionality, and design. Michael and I also worked on wireframes and mockups prior to implementation to give us a sense of what we should be aiming for with regards to UI and UX. Simon was the primary person in charge of DevOps and QA. He also created our backend deployment strategies. And then on our backend, Sean and Roland worked on the database models and filters in Django. Roland specifically handled database migrations. And additionally, both Sean and Roland set up and configured the REST API backend and integrated GIS dependencies with Simon and Erik. Now I'm going to touch on our unexpected events. Honestly, we had to rack our brains a little bit on this one. The development process was overall pretty smooth, and there were very few unexpected events. However, I'll give an example of a small unexpected event. This was more of a minor issue we ran into and how we resolved it. So, because most of our team could only test on Android, we initially missed detecting an error on the iOS build. This error occurred when a user would attempt to log into the app with invalid credentials. So, rather than just not logging them in and or notifying them that their credentials were invalid, the app instead crashed. The cause of this error ended up being not because of our code, but because of some highly specific iOS and React Native interaction. Ultimately, this was resolved by examining the code, identifying where the issue was occurring, and then adjusting our code so that this no longer happened. Following this issue, we made sure to more thoroughly test on iOS before approving pull requests.
Hello, I'm Simon Barton, and I'll be talking about lessons learned. This was a truly unique experience considering the global pandemic and entirely remote workflow. There were many lessons learned. As an educational process, this was everyone's first time working on a mobile application, so React Native was a big learning experience. We learned that iOS development in particular can be more difficult than Android. This has partly to do with access to Apple technology and partly with Apple's implementations of certain components. This was also our first experience implementing a backend project from scratch on a cloud platform. We learned a ton about App Engine, Cloud SQL, Cloud Build, and the way that those things can go wrong, especially when trying to install Python C extensions on a Docker container in App Engine. There were also tremendous gains in terms of all aspects of Scrum development processes. Version control in Git, project management with GitHub boards, communicating with a sponsor in Scrum meetings. These experiences were fairly new or still developing for the entire team. We made great progress in this area. In terms of pure positives and negatives, this was overall a great experience, and we are proud of the work that we have done. A couple of raw metrics: we ended up closing or merging 119 pull requests and closing 143 issues on GitHub. The biggest negative is that remote work can be very challenging. Video and audio lag aside, it can be difficult to communicate or understand complex ideas without access to a whiteboard in person and interpreting emotions face-to-face rather than pixel-to-face. Even so, we adapted and found ways to embrace the remote work. Shortly into our second term, we began frequent pair or group programming sessions. This greatly accelerated our productivity and gave everyone an opportunity to seek help and resolve blockers as well as combine knowledge. If we could do it again, only a few things might change. Paired programming even sooner may have helped. Taking testing more seriously and creating a suite that is less manual could have helped catch bugs more easily. But honestly, things went pretty well. If we did it again, we'd use the same technologies and just get a lot more done due to our newly acquired knowledge. In terms of having a non-traditional sponsor, there was a startup feeling on the project. It felt mostly self-guided, but in a good way. We enjoyed the technical understanding. Creating and negotiating requirements was a very clear and straightforward process on both sides. This allowed us to begin work quickly. On the flip side, we had less friction and fewer requirement changes than one might experience with a traditional sponsor or in the real world. A few words of advice for future Capstone teams. Get working together as soon as possible, as in, as soon as your project is assigned, get going. It doesn't have to strictly be code, but collaborating on design documents and prototypes and working through the team formation process quickly was beneficial for us. Communicate with each other as frequently as possible, especially if remote. Lastly, really give Capstone your all. It feels great to build something that you're proud of, and you may just find that you like the project so much you want to keep going afterwards too. And finally, potential ideas for changing the Capstone process itself. Depending on project availability, if additional student-invented project ideas are offered, COVID-related or not, it might be interesting if a separate faculty member is assigned for the Capstone sponsor. It may also be interesting to allow students a chance to conduct a 2-term research project rather than strictly software engineering. This, of course, would be a massive change and would require careful planning and agreement from researchers at the university as well.
I can speak on behalf of the team by saying that our experience during Capstone has been some of the most fun, educational, and valuable time we spent in the computer science department at Portland State University. We've gained a tremendous amount of experience that will translate directly into the real world and help us in our careers. And for that, we'd like to thank the Computer Science Department at Portland State for giving us this opportunity, and especially to Bruce Irvin for being our guide throughout the experience. Bruce provided us with the necessary guidance and feedback, ensuring our team's success. Well, that's all. Thank you so much for watching our presentation, and we really hope that you enjoyed it.